Now, I've just got home with my brand new 8-week-old puppy. We've just literally this second pulled up and we've come outside to do some toilet training. But one of the things that's usually massively overlooked when it comes to bringing a new puppy into your home is how do you get them home? What's the safest way to do so? What's the legal way to do so? And what's the best way to do so to set you and your training up for maximum amount of success? That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. So we're on the way down to pick up Reggie, and the first thing you have to decide is how are you safely going to transport your puppy back home. Now, obviously, first and foremost, depending on the country that you live in, you need to make sure that you're following the legal guidelines. Now, here in the UK, there isn't a specific, it must be this way, but it is that your dog must be suitably restrained. Now, for me, whenever I'm traveling with my dogs, as soon as kind of they're trained, they're always in crates. So that is obviously more than suitably restrained. However, when I bring my puppies home, I don't utilise a crate. And the reason that I don't utilise a crate is because I don't want their first experience of the crate to be a traumatic one, because crate training is such a crucial part of my training system. So what I do is I bring somebody with me, and I have my wonderful wife coming with me to pick up Reggie. And the way that I bring our puppies home is that in the passenger seat in the footwell, we have a nice blanket in the footwell, and she has the dog between her feet in the footwell on a lead. I truly believe that that is suitably restrained. It's not distracting to me whatsoever, and it's a much more pleasant experience for the puppy. She doesn't have them on her lap, she doesn't have them climbing all over her, and they're definitely not climbing anywhere near me. Suitably, safely restrained down by her feet, but it makes it a much more pleasant experience and doesn't interfere with my crate training, which is a huge part of the first day, and I'm just trying to avoid at all costs setting us up for a really bad start for our crate training. However, if you can't bring somebody with you, I then highly recommend that you utilise a crate when bringing the puppy back, because safety is absolutely first. And yes, there might be downsides of if the puppy is crying the whole way back in the crate, that certainly isn't necessarily ideal, but I've worked with many people that was the situation, and we were quite comfortably able to get their puppy to absolutely love the crate. But it's just, if it can be avoided for me, I'm going to avoid it. Now, another downside of if you're using a crate or you can't have somebody come with you is if they're crying and barking, because that can be incredibly distracting. And for me, I'm quite kind of sensitive to noises in general, and I would find that incredibly distracting. So for me, it's absolutely mandatory. If my wife couldn't come, I'd ask a friend. If a friend couldn't come, I'd ask one of my employees. I'd even pay somebody to come with me to make that transition back as smooth as possible. Now, for us, it's a very long drive. This is going to be around 3 to 4 hours, depending on the traffic. So we're going to have to do some stops and stuff, but I'm going to show you when we get there a few other little tips and tricks just to make that process of getting them back as smooth as possible. Then we can start all the fun stuff of actually training our puppy. So guys, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you when you're bringing your dog home for crate training and bringing them home in general is what we're going to call kind of my puppy blanket hack. And I'm going to show you that right now in terms of exactly what we've done. So yesterday when we went to do all the paperwork and stuff, we gave a blanket to the breeder. Now you can do this ahead of time. It doesn't only, like literally a couple of hours is enough, to be honest, even if you don't get a chance to kind of speak to your breeder about doing this. And our breeder already did this, but we brought another blanket. So we've got two options. When you go and pick them up, you can take a towel or a blanket and just go and rub it on mum and rub it on some of the other litter mates, just so it's got its scent. But for bringing him home, we've then literally just got that blanket kind of down here in the footwell. You can see it's got some of the shavings on from there where they slept last night, but that's perfect. So that blanket kind of, all the puppies were playing with it, they were rolling with it, they were dragging it around and stuff. But for Reggie, what that means is that is covered in their scent, which just helps them settle down. And again, like we discussed, he's on a lead, he's suitably restrained between my wife's feet, he's not climbing up, he's not sitting on her lap, and he's getting good and comfortable at being calm and well-mannered down by her feet. So absolutely perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for, and that's the little blanket trick. And like I say, I prefer that over the crate because I don't want to set my crate training up for any kind of failure, and we're going to be working on that as soon as we get home. So this is just a toilet break opportunity on the way home. If you're in the UK and you do a long drive, a service station probably is going to be the main place you go, and obviously safety first. So he's got his lead on, You always try and avoid using their lead as much as possible, because I want my lead training to be perfect. Obviously in a scenario like this, safety absolutely first. So got one of my long 6 foot training leads. I'm just going to give him an opportunity. There's a good chance he might not go. Obviously this is probably the most stimulating environment he's ever been in, so it's got the first bit of serious socialisation we're doing. But lovely, this is what I want. I just want him to stand up, have a stretch. I'm going to move around just a little bit with him. I'm not going to use any lead pressure. And we're just going to give him an opportunity to have a sniff, make sure he doesn't eat anything. So obviously, like everywhere in the UK, people are littering, so I'm just going to keep a close eye on him, give him an opportunity, and then we'll get back on the road. Been about an hour and a half if you're interested. That's kind of how far we pushed it. He slept to most of that, to be fair. Pretty good boy, aren't we, Reggie? Hey. And yeah, we're just going to give him a little opportunity now. And this is it, and then we'll get back on the road. Doesn't need to be rocket science, doesn't need to be dramatic. So then when you get home, I recommend that the first thing you do is bring your puppy out to where it is that they're going to go to the toilet. And now this is Reggie's little kind of paddock that we built in our garden for him. It's going to be just for him. It's super secure, it's not super big, so it's not super overwhelming. Just a really nice space for him to kind of hang out, go to the toilet. It's always nice when you get a puppy in summer, and even though we're in England and you don't always get kind of a full summer, it is much nicer than standing out here in the freezing cold and in the rain. So we've got a nice little chair, and it's just a space where we can kind of hang out with him and we can do his toilet training. So that is how you bring your dog home. Now the real fun starts when you actually get your dog home, and there is so much more to it than how much there is to simply bringing them home. So if you enjoyed that video, make sure you subscribe. So I'm going to be documenting Reggie's journey growing up from an 8-week-old puppy all the way through to becoming a perfect canine companion. So I can't wait to see you soon.